Black woman tweeted about her bad experience and 3 days later she's dead. We're past that. That's gone. Those days are done. No. Everybody pulled up on these internet streets for that young lady on Memorial Herman's ass. As well, it should have been done. People started calling. They were calling the nurse line. They were calling the patient advocate line. They were emailing. They were on Memorial Herman's social media. All kinds of nonsense was taking place. And everybody was like, shut all of that down. And so gratefully, a couple of days ago, she reported that the young lady posted to her Instagram page that the hospital launched an investigation into her care and that her care has increased exponentially. And she was thankful to everybody for doing what they did to, to rep for her. And I'm just going to put it out there to all of you who may be listening. Like, that is what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take for people to pull up in real time and be like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We will not sit here and watch this play out on a live and then go on about our day hoping that she's okay. No more. Those days are gone. So Memorial Hermann, they heard from the people. I'm sure there's still more to come, as there should be more to come, because it's not enough that they got right once the community got them together. We need to know that anytime anybody walks into those facilities, but especially Black women, because of the numbers that we are seeing from these facilities in regards to how they handle and care for Black women. We've talked about this before in that word care. They need to know that that's exactly what it's going to be every single time. The community's going to pull up. So I was like, not in my backyard. Oh, no, we don't. Honey, I was ready to go over to that hospital. You hear me? I don't know what I would have done, but I was ready to go. If this young lady would have been like, please come, I'd have been up there. I would have been live tweeting something. I can actually go live on this podcast. That's probably what I would have done, gone live on the podcast. I have to find I'm going to do a live podcast show one day. We may have to wait until we're past all this coronavirus stuff to go live. But anyhow, so that's the what's goings on around here and around my part. I hope that y'all are doing well. I hope that you are making the best of whatever situation, you're in right now. But I want you to take care of yourselves, to take especially good care of yourselves, and for us to take care of one another. And I mean that in the actual sense and definition of the word care. I ran those definitions a couple of episodes ago. I don't remember. I don't have them pulled up right now, but really take care of one another. Look out for each other. Look out for people in your community. Do what you need to do to help spread the word in your community, whether that's about coronavirus, whether that's about maternal mortality rates, whether that's about police brutality, like whatever you see is happening in your community that touches you and spurs you into action, get into action and make it happen. That's how this young lady is now able to actually recover in a good space right now, we hope. It better continue to be good. Because her community said, no, not on our watch. We're going to take care of our sister. And we're going to make sure you take care of our sister. Don't play with us. That's where we are. Okay, into the main segment. All right, in our main segment today, so this is part 3 of Let the Medical Movement Commence. I am committed, y'all. I am committed to the medical movement. That story about the young lady at Memorial Hermann, like if that's what I mean by the medical movement, right? That the community is saying we are no longer accepting the bare minimum scraps that the medical industrial complex has deluded itself into believing is good work for Black and brown people in the United States of America. We're done with that. There are no more, we're not taking scraps anymore. You have the best, you're going to give us the best. We're going to see that, and we're going to speak up, and we're going to move until you realize that. Medical industrial complex, medical establishment. So in today's topic, I want to speak to academic medicine. So I do a lot of, I think in these conversations, as we've been talking about Black maternal mortality and Black infant mortality, and just the ways in which Black and brown people are cared for or actually not cared for in a lot of medical establishments in this nation. I would say there's an enough amount of doctor. You know, we take our anger out on the doctors, and we take our anger out on doctors because they're the ones, right? They're the primary decision makers. They're the face that we see. Their orders are the orders that then direct how everyone else handles us, right? Or handles our care in the medical system. Nothing happens, or nothing should happen, without a doctor's order first putting that into place. And so it's very easy for us to point the finger at doctors, and right now they're the ones taking the hit. And I'm not suggesting that they should not be. But what I want to balance this conversation out, because what I do know, for one, as I've said before, I've worked with many, many more excellent doctors in the time that I was working in the medical industrial complex, than I know of the bad ones. The issue is that the bad ones are pretty freaking bad. They're really bad. And it's when those bad ones are so bad, but then those who, it's like the police conversation. I've said this before, you know, like great doctors get I don't want to outshined maybe, but anyway, they're not known because people, it's just like any other sort of, you know, word of mouth, right? Like bad word of mouth gets around faster than good word of mouth. And so these horrible stories about these doctors who neglect patients or refuse treatment to patients, and then the patient walks outside and drops dead. Well, because that's what we don't want. That's what we're going to focus. Right? But so I do want to have a conversation about that, especially in the context of academic medicine. Academic medicine is where medical schools, right? All of the learning takes place. It's how doctors are raised up in the system to become doctors. And so this is where these doctors work in practices that are attached to these medical schools, which are attached to certain hospital systems. And so in the case, I'll just give you for instance of Memorial Hermann is the hospital. And then the academic side of that is that doctors from UT, they change their name every like 2 years, but UT's medical school that's here in the Texas Medical Center, it's McGovern UT Health Center, I don't know, Health Science Center. It's a lot. It's a mouthful. Like I said, they change their name every couple of years. So those medical students and the residents who are at UT's medical school are practicing in Memorial Hermann hospitals. And then they have private practice offices where they see their patients every day in office hours. So the way, when you go to the doctor and you have your exam, or you're there for your prenatal care, or you're there to have your pap smear on a yearly basis, you're going to those doctors' offices who work in academic medicine. Those physicians also have other duties. A lot of times they are researchers and or they are lecturers for the medical students, right? They have a lot of, they hold faculty positions. They hold other types of teaching positions. They hold positions, they might also hold positions like in the county hospital spaces. A lot of times the residents of the medical schools will also see clients in some of the clinics that are for disadvantaged people that do not have health care, health insurance. Okay. So that's academic medicine. That whole entire system of training up brand new doctors, seeing patients in the community, and then the actual hospital care that takes place inside of a hospital. It's corporate. I've told you all before, hospitals are businesses. The care that is rendered under a business model. No longer are we living in the days of hospitals that are run by, Catholic nuns who were moved to take care of the sick and the needy. That's how hospitals started. And so now you're dealing with this very corporate entity, this very corporate idealization of medicine. And I want to talk about that today because I just want to point out that in my career, so again, I'm speaking from what I know, what I've seen, where I've worked, and the patterns that I've seen. I worked as a nurse across 3 different states. I worked as a nurse in North Carolina. I worked as a nurse in New York City, and I worked as a nurse here in Houston. And when I worked in North Carolina, it was within the military hospital system, which is so different from civilian hospital systems. And people in the military tend to think, we always had this idea that like we weren't getting the best care, that civilian hospitals were better. I'm here to tell you that they're not. They're not. The military provides excellent service. They do in their hospitals. They're far more advanced than a lot of the hospitals on the civilian side. It's the truth. It's what I know. But anyhow, there's this corporatization, right? This want, and this is coming usually from the administrators of hospitals. So people who sit on the executive teams, people who sit in what I call the ivory tower, because a lot of times their offices are not even they're not close to the clinical spaces that they're making decisions over. Okay. And so it's this idea, these administrators and these business people, a lot of times who have backgrounds in business, they have backgrounds in law, maybe they have backgrounds that are not medical. And so they sit at the top and they're sitting in their ivory towers and they're meeting with one another about these goals and objectives for this business and how to bring money and how to increase the bottom line and all these other things.